be honest with you, the biggest threat to our industry is not the AI. I mean, the biggest threat, I think, is an age-old threat. It's bad stories and bad management.
Hey, rock, paper, scissors? Rock, paper, scissors! Let's discuss. Rock, paper, scissors is a recent animated short film created by YouTube channel Corridor Crew. Oh, you're wondering why I said animated like that? Well, you see, this short was not in fact created traditionally, or digitally, or computer animatedly, or rotoscopingly, or in any other fancy way. This is AI. Straight up.
Ass!
If you cannot tell, I do not like AI art. AI art may or may not aggravate me more than any piece of bad media out there. Even more than Geek, my least favorite piece of media to exist. And I won't stop mentioning it because it's funny to do so. But this isn't funny. So you might be wondering, why? Why am I getting so worked up over something like this? Why do I care so much to make a full-on video on it? Well, you see, I wasn't at first. You see, I wasn't even gonna make a video on this. I wanted to talk about Super Mario and Kung Fu Panda and Forspoken. I saw the video, said I don't like this, and just moved on merrily with my life. Then Corridor Crew posted their behind-the-scenes video, the one especially labeled, "Did we change animation forever?" The king audacity. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna debunk this whole video and say this. This is not rotoscoping. This is not animation. This is a glorified Snapchat filter. And I'm gonna explain why fundamentally this cannot be used to replace nor substitute any form of animation. But let me be fair. Let's be optimistic. Let's give this short a fair shake. The least I could do is actually look at the thing. Maybe at least be good, says the guy who invented Skynet. What the hell was that? So yeah, this is kinda bad. But there was some good, so let's talk about the good. Like, writing is actually pretty good. I kinda like the over-the-top nature of the premise, essentially being a rock, paper, scissors duel for the throne and future of an entire kingdom. The concept and the performances were over the top. It was fun, and the shots they used were super neat and inventive, and ooze a certain kind of cheese that I can't help but admire. And all the effects help sell every dumb movement. You get some genuinely impressive stuff. Plus, the ending song wasn't half bad either. It just added to this parody of a brooding, dramatic anime you've seen countless times before. Wow, did I just have character development? Colored me impressed. Now uncolored me unimpressed, because the actual characters that I'm staring at for the majority of the short are quite frankly bad. Quite literally, everything and anything that was actually touched by human hands was good. And I'm gonna be quite honest, this literally looks like dog. Literally pause literally any frame, and you'll get demons that'll invade my nightmares. Well, animation has weird frames when you pause. That's a deliberate stylistic choice that indicates movement. Plus, it's used sparingly. Do you really mean to tell me that this was intentional? The flickering of both shadows and hair, the uncanny nature of some of these shots, for the entire short? It's weird because they shot everything in live action, and looking side by side, I'd actually like to see the live action more. It kinda gives me a vibe like Smosh or Rooster Teeth. Just something that goes super hard for a simply dumb premise. But instead we're lingering on the uncanny valley, the worst valley in America to sightsee. And this animation isn't even anime, which is bad when your short is labeled anime rock paper scissors. Anime isn't there. This is so easy to tell that it was done over real people. So it straddles between the struggle to maintain that realism, but also be anime in terms of style that I was commanded to copy. Hell, it doesn't even feel that much of an anime in terms of style. If anything, the over-the-top nature reminds me more of a comic book aesthetic in the vein of Sin City or Scott Cawthon vs. the World. Where's my kanji, my speed lines, any dramatic single poses with hardly any movement? I'll get more into the actual use of the art, but using the anime Vampire Hunter D is just so weird. Why not JoJo, the most famous over-the-top anime in history that people outside of the anime hemisphere know how insane this show can be? Well, let me explain, using the one word that scares any scientist.
Ah! Oh my god!
Let's go to the ethical stuff. Because anyone who has eyes can see the problem immediately when I say that AI art needs an art base to actually generate art. In order to get rid of the style flickering, this short's art style primarily uses the art and character design of the anime Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust as a base for the AI to process this art over live action scenes used as reference. To my knowledge, they did not ask for permission from the studio nor individual artists for their art for something that is monetized. Yes, this short is making money. Cool! Maybe they at least credit the artists who actually worked on the anime. I mean, without this, the short wouldn't even exist, so it sounds like a pretty important thing to do. They did not. Okay, the bare minimum, the tiniest morsel they could do is at least tell people to check out the anime movie somewhere, maybe like a streaming site.
It's actually free on YouTube, you can just go watch it if you want.
And that's the key to this. The reason why they chose this specific anime instead of any other is because it was easy to steal. If it's up on YouTube, then it's fine to steal because the studio doesn't care, despite the fact that these are not official releases and they strayed away from more obvious picks because, number one, it would have been more susceptible to legal or copyright action, or number two, they did not care and just looked for something that looked cool and not because it fit the vibe that they were aiming for.
Well, a ton of people use references or memes, and you don't credit every guy.
Well, I don't claim that I'm changing animation forever and that I'm making this wholly original idea, do I? I'm not even the one making money off of this. I think a review series or a YTP is very different than making an original idea. Okay, losing my cool, but an important thing to note here is that no permission was asked of the artist for the AI to use. So under no capacity nor justification can this be okay. It's stealing. This isn't the case of someone making their own art by basing it off the work of another. The art community hates tracers after all.
I'm sorry!
But the thing is, without the physical art itself, the AI would have no idea what to do.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
If you took a piece of art in front of someone and then erased it, just burned it up, the person would at least be able to understand the basics to try to draw them, even if it wasn't all that good. If you did the same for AI, the AI wouldn't even try, because the machine can't learn. It can only mix and match from its database. That's why AI taking art and contorting it isn't the same as someone using a style or changing a style.
Well, people could just hire visual or concept artists to make styles only meant to fade into an AI.
And may I ask, why on God's green earth would studios want to do that? Why would they want to spend actual money on an artist to potentially make hundreds of drawings while also adjusting a style? Because in most movies, a style usually takes a while before it's truly found, when I could just look for an anime that nobody cares about for free because style is a freedom. And that makes it morally correct to just steal images so my machine can objectively make worst, soulless images. And we're not even at the worst part yet. Let's look at the idea of changing animation for the better. The main argument for making this and the reasoning that they use. The most creative medium is also the least democratized. Isn't that a bit vague? Google says make parentheses something parentheses accessible to everyone. And to be fair, there have been plenty of horror stories of projects being cancelled and good ideas just being thrown away. But just because it's not from a big studio doesn't make an industry unaccessible. I mean, by that logic, outside of animation, indie games shouldn't succeed. The biggest hits have been indie games, And in animation itself, oh, there's not too many examples. Let me just list a couple off, not too many. Just some creator stories like Alan Becker, Jane Animation, The Odd Ones Out, Monty Ohm, Terminal Montage, Doobus Goobus, Aaron Hansen, Sidekick Pebbles, Hyun's Dojo, the entirety of the Storytime community, the entirety of Newgrounds, and this is just the top of my head, but again, it's just simply not enough. I mean, it's just a shame that, there's no big website dedicated to hosting videos backed by a multi-billionaire company that has numerous cases of success stories out there, and maybe that makes it the whole appeal of the site. Let me spitball a slogan right here. Maybe something like, broadcast yourself.
Well, maybe he's talking about the skill ceiling.
My guy, dude. I hate to sound like a gamer, but I gotta pull the gamer book right here. But quite frankly, that sounds like a skill issue. Animation is hard, but there's so many ways to go about it. If you can't draw good, then stop motion or 3D might be good for you. There's several instances of cruder or more simpler styles to seeding, like The Odd Ones Out, or literally any Storytime channel out there. If you have a good idea, people will excuse any hiccups if you have something new and unique to say. If you can't handle the idea that animation or drawing itself is hard, that just tells me that you should either hire an animator if you have an idea, animation is a job after all, or just don't do it. It's almost like there's other ways to get ideas out there. Maybe something called visual arts. Even if we just look past this, let's say,
this is the future.
This is where we're heading. Well, besides the fact that I want all this right, oh dear God, this is so limited. If anything, this is the least democratized way that you can make something resembling a cartoon. The first is obvious. You need to film everything yourself in order to do the filter. So I hope you have a good quality camera for the AI. Good lighting if you either want to add or remove shadows for the AI to pick up. A large enough green screen and area to capture your movements well enough, especially if you have full body shots. Actual costuming, because the AI can't think and needs that costume and the money to afford some of the software practically needed to make something like this and mitigate the flickering, and at least $200 for the CGI background and props that they used. Oh yeah, look how accessible and easy this is. It's not like my parents needed that garage to park their car. Alan Becker made his first animations with his school laptop and a crappy drawing tablet, and now look at him. Are you gonna tell me that Miranda is not the definition of democracy and true freedom? But okay, let's say this is still not a problem. You've got $1 million loan right here, okay. This is animation. Anyone and everyone has free will to make whatever they want. Okay, make a cartoon cat doing a funny dance.
I see the problem.
Oh, do you? Good luck if you want a story on anything that isn't human. So unless you pay money to wear a full-on orc costume or contort your body to the ungodly shape of Puss in Boots, you're practically forced to stick to the human-centric stories. Well, you can make full-on costume and prosthetics to fool the filter, but isn't the big appeal of those effects being that these things exist in the same world as live-action, real-life people?
He's pulling his cock out!
But that can't be right. This is supposed to realize my dreams of doing whatever I want. It's almost like with any career ever, it takes time and effort.
Well, it's supposed to be a different way to animate, not that.
Shut the up! You know what does that? Rotoscoping, mocapping, and even then, they're not the crux. They're tools that actual animators come into and refine and fix up. Take a look at Take On Me. It's rotoscoping full actors for a good chunk of the short, but it's actually done by confident artists instead of a machine, so it doesn't flicker in and out of existence and is done in a unique style that became iconic. I can see the emotions despite the shadows being somewhat inconsistent because it fits into a hazy comic book dimension. Are you really telling me that this uncanny, borderline realistic take is supposed to emulate that? What about Loving Vincent, a homage to Van Gogh where every frame was painted by over 100 painters in multiple styles? Again, the flickering only happens prominently when we're in this almost magical, colorful space, while the monochrome sections, the flickering isn't as present. It's a deliberate stylistic choice. Waltz with Bashir, hell, Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, something released over 100 years ago, used rotoscoping in a better way because they're more consistent and are adjusting for style changes. Oh, this is the future of animation, rotoscoping. What took you so long, idiot? This isn't a tool like Tweenie where we're able to adjust the art to make it better instead of just relying on it. Here, there's no artist going in to clean up the in-betweens. If you look, you can just see so many instances of the eyes changing shape and even eye color. That simply does not occur when you're rotoscoping or mocapping because humans go through it and fix the errors machines make, and relying on it is asinine. And you know studios are gonna cling on to this because we all know that Hollywood doesn't respect animation and even visual effect artists in general. At the end of the day, this is only gonna hurt animators by giving the foolish idea that this is comparable to this. By saying that this is the future to accessible animation means that we're giving a huge discredit to the ones who actually prove that animation is accessible. Ed Gould made a beloved web series with his friends in a bedroom. Monty Ohm was a high school dropout who just decided to make a fun crossover short that snowballed into him getting the chance to make a wholly original show. Hell, even now, I've been doing animation for barely 4 years at most, with only the software I was able to get because of my college and free software. I am no expert in animation, nor do I claim to be this, but I can tell you that this isn't changing animation. Movies like Spider-Verse, Mitchell's vs. the Machines, and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish are changing the animation hemisphere. Not only because they're showing off new styles, but also new tools that animators are able to take advantage of and make something cooler. New ways to rig, animate to make their jobs easier, how to implement acting and also adjusting it. This is not animation. But that doesn't mean AI can't be a tool. My main argument was on why AI can't be relied on to make animation. I hold no ill will towards the creators, nor AI in general. Just that silly notion that AI is the future of animation and can suddenly make this market more easy to get into. Though it can, in a way. There's programs out there that use AI to color an animation with a single frame for reference. That actually doesn't sound too bad. Coloring is super tedious and probably one of the main reasons I can't get animations out as fast as I like them to be. It's not necessarily the AI's fault, it's going to be how studios and people implement it. I mean, people thought computers in general were gonna ruin art, but look at all this neat stuff that we got because of computers. I even mentioned YouTube. Nobody took that seriously at first, but then the 2010s happened and it became the place for people to upload things and become famous, even making it a career option. So it's not animation, and it's not like it can't be a tool. My first draft of this video was initially so much more negative that this wasn't art, calling these guys chumps and blaming consumers at one point. That goes against everything I want to be as a funny YouTube guy, just looking at things that people may not appreciate or just look at to understand them better. I still hold a lot of what I say here to be valid, that this isn't animation and doing so is misleading and dishonest, and that there are better ways to make animation more accessible, and that there are a ton of ethical quandaries all about this, because it's important to note the limitations and concerns, like with any medium or technology. I love YouTube, I'm not gonna ignore the issues that it has or what it can become, that there are a ton of technicalities and some super blank territory in terms of what someone who has no care about the art form can abuse and take from it. Plus, the backlash just wouldn't be so bad if you just didn't label this as the change of animation or call it animation. But it's a process. I say that this short isn't all that good aesthetically, but The AI will get better. It's a fact. Even for a first attempt, it's impressive. I mean, look at my first attempt at animation. It was so bad. It'll probably get better, and maybe it'll gain the power to do actual animation in the future. We simply don't know. In the same vein that tech bros can't denounce the power of animation and what it can and has done, we as artists can't fully denounce what AI is capable of doing for us as artists. If anything, it's like a Superman. It has the power to destroy us all or lead us to a hopeful future. But we only get to that future if we let that boy in a space pod grow. If we embrace the new and teach it to do good, and not like some anti-Superman. So, what does the future hold? I don't know. Does it scare me? I'd be lying if I didn't say at least a little. But people were afraid of CGI too. Ultimately, I think things will be fine. There will be some bumps, some arguments, some genuinely bad implementation of AI, but we're going to be okay.
In the same way that cameras didn't replace painters, there's always going to be a place for people doing this craft, this art. You'd have to take that technology, embrace it, and see how it can help you.
Oh, I'm dumb as hell. I didn't hit record. Ugh.